Hi everybody, it's Adam, the geneticist and the next generation sequencing data scientist here at Verdure Healthcare. Welcome to my Facebook premiere on chromosome 5. So today we're going to talk about the fifth largest chromosome in our human body, chromosome 5. So as you can see, if we line up every piece of chromosome in the human body here, you'll be able to see the fifth chromosome is actually in this position. So last time we talked about chromosome 4, and in the previous videos we have consecutively talked about chromosome 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you're interested, I would strongly suggest you to look at those videos as well. Alright, so chromosome 5 actually makes up around 6% of our total genes. So in the previous video, in chromosome 4, it makes us about 6.5% of our total genes. Now, just in case if you've forgotten about the relationship between the genes and the chromosome, actually they are the same thing. So in summary, genes and DNA are the same thing, and when they pack together, it becomes a chromosome. So it is just the verb that you're using to describe the difference level of genes. So you can imagine like a ball of string over here. So the entire pack is like the chromosome. If you pull out the strings, you will imagine that these are the DNA. So just to remind you a bit that there are only 4 kinds of DNA pieces in our human body. In fact, every life form on Earth uses all the 4 pieces GCAT DNA pieces to make pretty much everything on Earth, living thing on Earth. Alright, so here is the map of chromosome 5. So you might not be able to see the details, but what we are doing here is actually trying to locate different locations on chromosome 5. For example, over here, 5p13.3, so this position contains a gene to actually make some components of our human body. So when, for example, this piece is missing, then we'll be able to see, oh, this is the protein that has been deleted from the human body and what kind of diseases it can actually cause. So anyway, chromosome 5 has over 181 million DNA pieces. Right. So quite a lot, isn't it? And chromosome 5 is quite special because it contains a protein called the interleukins, which regulate our immune response. So for example, if there are bacteria that invaded certain parts of our body, so it will generate an immune response, but this is actually caused and regulated by the interleukin gene that is within the chromosome 5. Right, and there's another interesting fact. If we compare chromosome 5 in a chimpanzee with a human chromosome 5, you'll be able to see a 99% similarity. So it's actually quite close, isn't it? Us and chimpanzees. Okay, so this particular chromosome actually generates quite a number of diseases. It's a very important chromosome. However, there are just a few, in fact there are around 6 diseases that are more common in Asia, so I'll list them for you. Right, so before we actually get into diseases, let me remind you that there are 2 major types of genetic disorders. One involves the single gene, okay, meaning to say, for example, within GCAT, these DNA pieces, just 1 or 2 or a really small amount of them are either being missing, duplicated, or being substituted by something that's not, that shouldn't even be there. So this is single gene disorders. So chromosomal abnormality, meaning to say that there are large pieces of the chromosome that has either been missing, duplicated, flipped around, and etc. etc. So usually if you want to compare, chromosomal abnormalities would be more serious compared to gene disorders. Usually, right? Okay, So the first disease that I want to talk about is 5q31.3 microdeletion syndrome. Now, let me give you a little test over here. What is 5q31.3? What does that signify? Okay, right, I'll answer that later on, but in the meanwhile, okay, have a think about it. We talked about this just now. Anyway, this particular microdeletion syndrome, it actually causes impaired speech. Okay, so this particular person cannot speak properly, so it is impaired, and sometimes, okay, it will cause low muscle tone. Okay, what's muscle tone? If you see me here, I'm standing. But what actually sustained me to stand this long? Okay, you might answer, oh, the bones. Yes, of course, one of the important components would be the bones, but the muscle groups are also helping me to sustain my standing posture. So with this particular disease, this individual, when he has low muscle tone, meaning to say that he can't stand too long, or he just couldn't maintain the position for too long, even for just sitting, right? So he might be consistently changing the position, he might need some support in order to stay in such a position for a longer period of time. Now, breathing problems is also one of the symptoms that this disease can cause, and it's very dangerous because if the baby cannot breathe properly, then you know pretty much what will be the consequence. Sometimes seizure can also happen, and then facial abnormalities. So straight away, almost straight away, if you look at a baby that has 5q31.3 microdeletion syndrome, you will pretty much be able to tell that this is a special baby and would need special care. So the question is, what causes all these horrible symptoms? Now, within chromosome 5, okay, there is a gene called PURA, P-U-R-A. So 5q31.3 deletion syndrome can also be known as the PURA syndrome, whereby, okay, this particular gene encodes for our neurological growth. Okay, so if we don't have the proper neurological growth, then all of our body systems, especially our muscle groups, we cannot maintain a good muscle tone, we cannot speak properly, and it will cause all of the symptoms that we have just spoken about. So now the answer to the question 5q31.3, it is actually a position on the chromosome. So 5q signifies chromosome 5, position 31.3. So that's how we find, if let's say in a chromosome, if we look at this particular location, we see it's been deleted, if we compare that to a normal human chromosome, we see that this region is being missing, then we know that this is a PURA syndrome. Right, let's move on. 5q minus syndrome. Now, this is a little bit complicated, so you might want to rewind back and listen to it one more time. So, this is a bone marrow disorder, okay? A bone marrow disorder. Bone marrow is the region inside our bone that pretty much produces all the blood cells in our body, okay? Now, with this kind of disorder, it actually causes immature blood cells to fail developing properly. Okay? So immature blood cells cannot develop properly. If we look at this disease, the blood sample from this disease, under a microscope, this is what you can see, right? Big chunks of immature bloods that cannot develop properly. Okay, so what is it going to cause? So it's going to cause anemia, meaning to say that this person will not get enough red blood cells, and then they will also get something called the megakaryocytes. Okay, meaning to say that this is the blood cell that is responsible for producing the platelets. Platelets are responsible for clotting our wounds if we get some injuries. Okay, so it's going to cause a bit of problem clotting out blood. Anyway, so if we look at this, if we line up all the chromosomes, okay, and we will be able to see this is the normal chromosome 5, but there is a large chunk of it being missing on the other chromosome 5. So this is considered a chromosomal abnormality, okay? But, okay, so you might ask, okay, is this blood cancer? Well, it is not exactly blood cancer at the first place, but there will, because of these disorders, it's likely going to cause a blood cancer called the acute myeloid leukemia. Again, this kind of blood cancer, it increases the risk. Anyway, so the next disease we can talk about is the Criduct Syndrome. So Criduct, if we translate that, this is a French word. If we translate that into English, it's called the cat crying syndrome. Why is it called this way? It is because the baby that is being affected by this disease will cry like a cat, literally like a cat. So if we put this under a very high-powered microscope to read chromosomes, we'll be able to see this particular part. So just now if we compare back, okay, so this is the lower part for 5q minus, so this is the lower part being missing, and now this is the upper part being missing. Okay, so straight away pretty much when you use this technology, you'll be able to see some abnormalities. Okay, right, so is it just cats crying? Unfortunately, no. So let's have a look at what other things can it have. So intellectual disability, delayed development is definitely one of the symptoms. Low birth weight, weak muscle tone, okay? And also they have very distinctive facial feature. For example, the eyes will be a bit wider, lower ears, okay? And then sometimes babies born with Criduct syndrome, they might have heart defects as well. So it is actually a basket of syndromes. Okay, now this is quite a scary disease, familial adenomatous polyposis, sorry. Okay, so what's going to happen to this person is that in the large intestine, there will be so many polyps, okay? There will be so many polyps that it pretty much takes up the entire space of the surface, okay? So it's a very horrible disease. Now, if you want to go onto Google and have a look at the pictures, I would really say viewers' discretion strongly advised, okay? But, okay, are these polyps going to cause cancer? Usually, no. Usually these are benign, meaning to say that these are just like tumors that isn't cancer in nature. But there is a strong risk that one of these polyps are going to develop into a cancer, okay? For colon cancers, you really don't need many polyps to cause cancer. You just need one. So if we get that many polyps together, if just one of them develops into cancer, there will be enough trouble. Okay, sorry, let me just go back to the previous slide. So the next disease we're going to talk about is Periventrical Heterotopia. Okay, sometimes these names are very hard to read. Anyway, so what happened is that this is a brain malformation. Okay, so what's the difference between malformation and malfunction? Okay, so malformation will cause malfunction because the structure of the brain itself has been actually changed, okay, in a bad way. But malfunction, sometimes the shape of this organ or tissue might be there, okay, it might look normal, but the function just can't be performed. Alright? So if you want to compare which one is more serious, I would say malformation because it will definitely cause a malfunction. So now the thing is that this disease is caused by 5p15.1 duplication. Okay? So remember the previous disease we talked about is a deletion, meaning to say it's been missing. But this one, there is a duplication of it. Alright, so as you can see how important it is for us to map the genes in order to locate and also to name the disease. Right, so what happened is that there will be a large fluid built up within the central part of the brain. Okay, so as you can see, this is going to cause a number of problems. What exactly the problem is it going to cause? It's still quite unfixed because it can really cause a variety of them. For example, it can cause memory loss. It can actually cause motor neurons to have low functions, meaning to say you can't even move your hands, for example. But there are quite a number of these symptoms, right? Okay, now this one is very special. We have yet to see one of this, but touch wood. Anyway, ring chromosome 5 syndrome. So what does it mean? Okay, so this is the normal chromosome 5, but if there is bits and pieces missing from the top and the bottom, these two ends would stick together, okay, into such a shape. So as you can see, it causes the ring shape over here. So all in all, this is actually a deletion syndrome, okay? So when it comes to deletion, it will definitely cause quite a number of diseases because it is deleted from the top and the bottom. So it is very similar to the Criduct Syndrome because the baby would literally cry like a cat, and then there will be a severe developmental delay and intellectual disability, very short stature, okay, hypotonia, meaning to say the fluid built up around in the inner part of the brain, okay, dysmorphic feature, meaning to say facial abnormalities, congenital heart diseases, and then skeletal abnormalities as well. You will be able to tell straight away that there is something wrong with this particular baby. Okay, so with that, what are the possible solutions? But once again, friends, I have to emphasize that gene therapies are still in a very initial stage of development. So it's more like a science fiction rather than a practical cure. But there are a few philosophies, I would say, that are possible. For example, mutated genes, you can do a gene therapy to replace the gene, and take out the wrong genes. Okay, mutated protein, okay, remember like the pure gene, so it's going to cause protein. So protein is the basis that we need to make the human structure. For example, our muscles, it is of course protein. So instead of replacing the gene, we can replace the protein altogether, and hopefully that can cure. Metabolic dysfunction, okay, sometimes our body, there are certain diseases caused by the gene that will make our body that cannot control our chemicals inside. So in this case, we'll be able to do some metabolic compensation, such as diet modifications, and sometimes pharmacological agents can help to control that as well. Organ malfunctions, such as the heart disease, you might be able to do a heart transplant, okay? But more importantly, why try to cure when we can prevent? Okay, so once again, I have to emphasize that prevention can often be the cure, okay? So, how do we prevent genetic diseases? Of course, it is to test for it before you actually get pregnant. Unfortunately, if you are already getting the genetic disease, that's really nothing we can do to reverse that. But if you're planning for a baby, you can actually prevent the diseases that you are carrying or you might be potentially carrying from getting to your next generation. So here at Verdure Healthcare, we have the pre-pregnancy DNA screening. It is designed specifically for parents or parents-to-be to go for such a test whereby we'll be able to pick out if you are carrying any genetic diseases. But you might be asking, Adam, I and my family don't have such genetic diseases. Why would I be bothered to test? Okay. Have a look at this research done by University of Chicago School of Medicine back in 2015. What they are saying is that humans carry 1 to 2 lethal recessive mutations on average. Humans, okay, so it's the general population study estimates. Right, if we have a look into it, okay, humans carry on average 1 to 2 mutations that, if inherited from both parents, can cause severe genetic disorder or death before reaching reproductive age. So this research is also being co-done by Columbia University, another very famous, very good medical school in the United States. So it is pretty much saying, for example, let's use a more common disease, thalassemia, okay, another type of anemia, thalassemia. So if you and your partner are carrying the thalassemia gene, it will never affect you, okay, so don't worry. So you are only a carrier of this particular genetic disease. But if you and your partner has this particular disease, there will be a 25% chance of this getting to the baby. Alright, so this involves quite a detailed genetic counseling session, but it is well worth it because, as I mentioned just now, genetic diseases are extremely difficult to cure, if not no cure. So, with this particular test at Verdure Healthcare, we produce 2 reports for you. The first part is to screen you and your partner's chromosome. So we will line up 23 chromosomes from you and your partner to see if there are any abnormalities. So one of the diseases that you should be able to think about is the ring chromosome. Okay, so what we talked about just now. But of course, if you have ring chromosome, you would definitely know about it. So, but there are some less severe chromosomal problems. For example, inversion. What is inversion? Meaning to say that these 2 regions of the chromosome has been flipped around. And because there is no gain or loss of genetic information in your body, so that's why it will not cause a problem in you. But, okay, if you were to inherit this into the next generation, then they might get some wrong genetic information because, okay, assuming your partner is normal, okay, has got nothing wrong with their chromosomes, the position of it might cause a duplicated particular gene or deleted particular gene. Okay, so substitution means to say that between different genes, for example, this is chromosome 4 and this is chromosome 20, something from chromosome 4 has actually been inserted into chromosome 20. Okay, but this is just one example. Between chromosome 1 and chromosome 15, for example, this can happen, and pretty much any combination. So that's why we need to look at the whole set of chromosomes. So with this, you will still not get any gain or loss of genetic information. But can you imagine if you were to inherit this part, the ones that chromosome 4 has been inserted into chromosome 20, if you inherit this part into your baby, then there will be a problem because your next generation will be getting either more or less genetic information. Translocation, okay, meaning to say that it is actually balanced, whereby something from chromosome 20 went to chromosome 4, and then this chromosome 4 has gone to chromosome 20. So unlike substitution, whereby this is a single direction substitution, but translocation is flipped around. Okay, so more like an inversion in this case, but between different chromosomes. Okay, so all of these, you yourself will not get a problem, but when it comes to giving birth to a baby, then there will be a higher risk. Okay, so deletion and duplication, this is the very obvious part whereby the moment we have a look at those, we will be able to see what part has been deleted and what part has been duplicated, and what are the potential risks that can be caused to you yourself, because now you are really getting more or less genetic information. Okay? So the second part here is where true complication comes in. Okay, we are going to have to line up your genes in a machine, okay, in a very specified machine, whereby we'll be able to read out if there are any single bits and pieces of DNA being missing that can cause the disease. So remember just now we have read something about 5q 31.3, 13.3, something like that. So this is the part where it will get tested. So this is something called the next generation sequencing, okay? So we will be testing for Asia's most common 155 genetic diseases, okay, including the ones we just spoken about. So in that case, because every single disease will have their different versions, so altogether there are 9,000 versions of 155 diseases that will be tested. Okay, so quite a number of them. Right, so here's the sample report. So this is actually from one of our clients where she was carrying beta thalassemia, Smith-Lemli-Opitz syndrome, and Wilson disease. So as you can see, these are very specific kind of information that only geneticists or genetic counselors will be able to read and also to understand. So that is why we need a proper qualified person to do this. So after you have done the test, we will also need to assess you for the inheritance pattern. So for example, if you and your partner are carrying the beta thalassemia, for example, could be the dad, could be the mom, but both are carrying, then there will be a 25% chance that this child will really be getting the beta thalassemia, but the parents are not affected. But there's also a 50% chance that this child will be like you, carrying the beta thalassemia gene, but will not have any effect at all, okay? There will only be the remaining 1/4 chance whereby they can escape completely. All right, so in that case, what is the qualification needed? Now, in the market, there are not many specialists that is doing genetic counseling or doing genetic tests. Why? Because on top of the specialism that you already have, you need to climb up further to earn genetic qualification. So, like myself, I have a postgraduate certificate in surgery from the Royal College of Surgeons of England. So I'm qualified as a surgery instructor, but yet, is that enough in order to talk to you about genetics testing? No, absolutely not. Because you're going to have to gain another certain qualification in genetics and genomics, and that one I've gotten from Stanford Medical School. And if, let's say, you were following the US system, they're getting more and more strict. If you want to offer people genetic tests, you're going to have to earn another specific qualification for genetic testing and the relevant genetic testing technologies. Okay, so and for that, I've obtained it from Harvard Medical School. Furthermore, that is not it. Sequencing technology, okay, what happens after the sequencing? So after the sequencing, it actually generates genomic data. So when you want to really make those genomic data into something useful, you're going to have to use a lot of computer programs to analyze it. So with that, I'm also a qualified next generation sequencing data scientist, whereby next generation sequencing is a kind of genomic data. Okay, so I've gotten this certification from Johns Hopkins University. Anyway, so you might be asking, okay, Adam, I have seen a lot of YouTube advertisement on Circle DNA or even sometimes 23andMe, that's another company. They are offering something called the commercial DNA test. Well, I have to say that these genetic tests are very good because they actually teach you how to eat properly and according to your genes, what kind of nutrition should you need, what kind of exercise should you do, and sometimes they even tell you what kind of talents you have. Okay, how accurate it is, okay, I'm not exactly sure because every company has their own method of running the test. But anyway, commercial genetic tests are excellent for your well-being. But if you really want to make medical decisions, such as whether or not do you need to have an IVF, have a pre-implantation genetic screening to select healthy embryos, for that, you're going to have to rely on clinical genetic testing, such as the one that we are offering, the pre-pregnancy DNA test. So, the main point is that after the testing, it's going to tell you whether or not do you need IVF or can you go for natural pregnancy with a peace of mind. Okay, so that's the most important thing. So after you've gone for the test, okay, so we will determine the direction. Okay, step 2 is to enhance the quality of the sperms and egg cells. So no matter if you are going for IVF or natural pregnancy, we would also need to enhance the quality of the sperms and egg cells. And with that, our products, our supplements has won the Mama Papa Baby Talk Magazine Reader's Choice Award 2020 for 3 categories. The first category would be the IVF Natural Food Supplement for Women. So we have the Female 1 and Female 2 from VHC formula. So that's our specified formula, whereby it actually improves the quality of the egg. Okay, it improves the ovulation function and also the environment in the uterus. Okay, so preparing you for a good pregnancy and also to prevent the risk of miscarriage. And we have also got the Fertility Natural Food Supplement for Men, whereby it actually enhances the sperm quantity, okay, meaning say more sperms. It also enhances the swimming capability, the shape, and the overall quality of the sperm cells in men. And furthermore, okay, after you've given birth to the baby, we of course will congratulate you. And also we have the confinement, VHC confinement 1 and confinement 2, that can help you recover from delivering the baby and also to prepare you for your next baby, right? So that's what this supplement can do. Okay. And also, thank you so much for your support because in 2021, despite COVID-19, our company made a great milestone to achieve super brand status. It is all because of your support. Now, getting super brand is no easy task because you have to get through a panel of 3,000 judges. That's crazy. When I hear that we got super brand, we were shocked, okay? But anyway, we would like to, show our gratitude to our supporters, such as you, the ones that are watching this live premiere right now. Okay, anyway, step 3 is to really go for the pregnancy. So now here's the moment of truth, whether or not you're going for natural pregnancy or IVF. So let's talk about natural pregnancy first. So with natural pregnancy, okay, meaning to say that you and your partner are not carrying any genetic mutations, okay? Or just one of you that are carrying the genetic mutation, but the other partner don't. So there is actually no risk for the baby to develop any genetic diseases, okay? So with this, we have something called insemination IUI. You do IUI at home, all by yourself. There's no need to involve the third party, okay? You don't have to go to the hospital. You don't have to take any medication to stimulate your ovulation. No. The supplement I just shared with you just now, they are all the herbal supplements, okay? They are here to boost your health. So, with the hormone artificial insemination IUI, you just need to follow 3 simple steps. The first step is to track your menstrual cycle. Okay, why? Because as far as you might know, that when ladies ovulate, this will be during a certain time in a month. So when this happens, there will be a slight bump in the body temperature because the body secretes a stimulation hormone called the LH, the luteinizing hormone, to stimulate the growth of the ovaries. Okay, sorry, not the ovaries, but the eggs. Anyway, so when you spot that, you track this for about 1 or 2 months, you can pretty much get the timing window. Then the next step is to use the LH Ovulation Test Kit to confirm ovulation. So during this particular window time, some of our clients, they might be testing for the ovulation for a few days consecutively using our ovulation test kit imported from the UK. So they are extremely accurate, all right? So once ovulation has been confirmed, you can use the artificial insemination toolkit that we have imported from the US. They are extremely simple to use. Minimal assembly required. Okay, all you need to do is just to assemble the tube and connect the tube into the sperm collector, and then insert the sperm collector into the reproductive organ, and you can push the syringe to push the sperm right into the uterus. Okay, so just these simple steps only. So these are 100% medical safe, okay, and they're imported. This particular kit is imported from the USA. Right, and also we will have a very detailed instruction manual to teach you how to use it, so please don't worry. Okay, so who's suitable? Okay, if let's say you are with, you have some symptoms such as low sperm count, poor motility, or abnormal shape, then of course I would strongly suggest you to use our VHC formula male to enhance this particular deficiency before you literally do the home artificial insemination IUI. Oh, by the way, this IUI toolkit, you don't have to dispose it, okay? You can use it as many times as you want, but make sure you wash it properly. With that, we have the detailed instructions. But for ladies with high amount of antibodies, suffering from recurrent genital infection or pain during the intercourse, or sometimes the couple might be just too stressed to have, intercourse during the correct time, so you can use the IUI at home. Right. And so, okay, there are clients that ask me, Adam, why can't we just go straight away for IVF and do that PGS-PGD? Okay. The thing is, let me introduce you to PGS-PGD first. So when is it being done? When you go for IVF, you go for the first consultation, the doctors will do some exams with you. Okay, when you accept the treatment, then you would be taking the medications home. So the so-called medications are actually hormones that stimulate your ovaries to grow eggs. Okay, so once the results are showing, you need to go back to the hospital for egg collection. After the egg collection, on the same day, your partner will be producing a sperm sample. So we have these two ingredients in the lab. They will combine the sperm and the egg together. Okay. After that's done, okay, they will be putting it into an incubator. An incubator is that artificial womb for around 5 to 6 days. Supposedly, if it's just pure IVF, after 5 to 6 days, they would take this embryo and put it back into the womb straight away. But now, as technology advances, there is an option to do embryo genetic selection before we put this embryo back into the womb. Okay, so with that, because this is a very expensive procedure, it costs around 20 to 30,000, depending on how many embryos do you have. So there is a choice whether to do it or not. But the main thing is that the process of doing embryo genetic selection involves taking a chunk of cells from the embryo. Okay, so no matter how advanced the technology is, or no matter how experienced the embryologist could be, there will still be a risk whereby this embryo sustained injury and could not grow anymore. Okay, so this is sometimes the truth that the doctors might not be telling you, but this is what can happen. Okay, so in that case, there will be a certain risk whereby, for example, all of the embryos cannot be used because they have been sustaining injury from this process, or all of the embryos could have been not usable because they all have genetic diseases. So in that case, that's why it is very important to do the pre-pregnancy DNA test before you choose whichever way of pregnancy that you want. So even after, for example, if you come to us and do the pre-pregnancy DNA test, okay, if the result shows that you and your partners are completely healthy, you still want to go for IVF for some certain reason, you don't have to go for the PGS-PGD. Right. So money problem, we've talked about it. So if you can go to Google and search the cost of PGS-PGD in Malaysia, that's what you can come up with. Okay. So a normal cycle would cost around 18 to 22,000 for IVF, but if you add the PGS-PGD in, it will come up to around 35 to 50,000 or even more than that. Anyway, so at Verdure Healthcare, we have a network of medical groups that we are working with. For example, Genomic Lab and DNA Lab, these are our genetic testing labs. BP Path Lab, health screening labs, that's how we can monitor your reproductive health. Alpha Fertility, TMC, Sunway, Thompson, these are all the hospitals that work with us, and you can directly follow up your IVF case should the need comes up. Solar Vision is a very specialized ultrasound scanning center, and Gribble's pretty much like BP and Path Lab, they do the blood tests. Anyway, so coming to the conclusion of this premier session now, I just want you to remember that your genes determine your baby's lifetime health. So if you're planning for a pregnancy, please give us a call. Let us have a look at your case, and also please let us help you to do the pre-pregnancy DNA screening test so that you can get pregnant and you can truly enjoy your fertility journey with a peace of mind. So this video will be put onto our Verdure YouTube channel. So I really hope that you can like our video, subscribe to our channel, share this video with friends or family that are planning for a pregnancy, and I will see you next time to talk to you about chromosome 6. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful day ahead.